Oh yeah, the Sitgo chapter. This one hard.
I read that so early in the week. I don't remember the Sitco chapter, to be honest with you.
I'll remember it for everyone. These are actually the chapters where I start really liking Susan.
I actually went this direction. I can see where Tam Tam's annoyance with her comes from now, because it's still she's I don't know. It's interesting. It isn't like I dislike her. It's just maybe it's the fact that I can definitely see the youth in her now.
So you hate her. Got it.
Forbidden blood.
Not hate her.
So you hate her. Totally get it.
Now, the only thing that stuck about Sitgo to me was like we got more Rhea info. Like she's back, she's looking through the ball, she's having a good time, she's cackling.
I do love the cackles. No, Steve, not cankles. Cackles. I knew you were going to ask.
I'd pull up a thing to you, love, but if I do that, my OBS won't stop working. And my computer's like slowly. We're looking into a laptop eventually.
How did Dave's surgery go? He's doing all right?
Oh, good. Doing really well for, what was it? We did it Tuesday. Yeah, pretty well for 4 days after the double hernia surgery thingy, so it wasn't just one, it was two. So.
Ouch. Tell him he's got to lift with his knees on his back. Jeez.
It was at birth, kind of always had them thing.
No, even worse.
Lifted since birth.
Oof. Dealing with that since birth.
Hard life,
man. I take back all those things I said about him.
I don't.
He managed just fine. Fuck him.
It's been going for 40 years now? Fuck it. He'll be okay.
Why isn't he used to it? This is bullshit. Get used to it.
I got the other gloves too. I don't like those ones. Okay. He's making a cut.
Canned.
Oh,
canned. Oh, Metal Mike Rob's here. He already tried to fart.
Why? Oh, just gemstone stuff. Don't. Fuck him. He's a pain in the ass in my hand, too.
Okay. Ready?
Slick.
So you guys will be happy to know that I searched around for some copyright-free Western style music and couldn't find any. So
what?
Yeah.
No country and Western?
Well, like the thing is, like I don't want lyrics. I don't want anybody singing. You know, because like the focus is the talking that we're doing, and I don't want anybody else like.
Somebody on here must have a banjo or something they can
also
play
talking.
I'm considering getting one.
Let me do you a favor. Don't. Thanks. You're welcome. Okay, we're moving on. Just kidding. If you want to get something that's like a banjo, but I feel like easier, try a mandolin.
Ukulele.
They're smaller. There's less strings. The tuning is actually like makes sense. Banjos have a string that just starts halfway down the neck for no fucking reason.
I'm looking at a few instruments, but it would fit in with our side of town just fine.
It absolutely would. Just
guys in front of the Circle K.
You'd probably make a bunch of money if you did that.
Damn.
Like, listen, honey, they're playing our song.
Modus is ready.
No way. Do it.
He's
Let's hear.
Not on stream.
Let's hear the dueling
because
banjos.
you're not going to hear it. It's not going to sound good through this. I'm not going to do it on stream.
Hmm.
It's just going to look cool.
Okay,
I'm just going to
okay.
be the dude.
Stream's not on right now.
Yeah, stream's off.
all right. You,
off.
you
Stream's
play.
off.
I will do the.
Awesome. Hi, Tam Tam.
And he says, I said maybe you're gonna be the one that saves me.
Shaves me, you said?
After all, you're my underbrow.
All right, here we go.
Do it.
Trying to stop eating.
Well, I'm going away. 1 second.
Close. Oh shit! I wish I had my guitar.
Oh no.
Nice.
There it is. There it is.
Look at there.
I'm done.
It's okay.
You have to end with "You got a purty mouth."
Do you want me to?
Squeal, piggy, squeal.
You sure got a bird of mouth. Mhm.
Okay, I think we're ready to go. Killer McGillicuddy, hello, sir. Thank you for joining us to the Book Nerds Book Club for nerds who love book nerd books. We got tonight with us a canned power duo with Mr. and Mrs. Candair. Steve in the yellow today. I'm loving the background, Steve.
Yeah, I was thinking about changing it out, but I ran out of time today, so this is what we got.
Gotcha. No, I mean, hey, you know,
That's the Glass and Wizard, no copyright,
yeah.
trademark.
Let me actually put us on screen here so people can see what I'm talking about. There we are. Okay, so up above we got Modus. He's hanging out with the
No shirt, no pants up.
white shirt, no pants. That's
Giggity.
that's why I like the party. He hits with the guitar skills. Next to me is the lovely P Pops hanging out in what looks to be like a recovery room for her giant of a husband. Hopefully he feels better, and
Yes, he does.
he will continue to improve. He just had surgery on his balls, right? It was balls surgery. Balls.
Double ball surgery.
Double ball surgery. He now has 2 more balls, so there's 4 down there.
He had a double testectomy.
Yes, a double.
He is now a eunuch.
Well.
Double the hype deserves double the balls, I guess.
Oh man, that's right. He needed a couple extra balls to like really help him.
Elephantitis. Shit.
Try not to
2
die.
for 1 deal at the
God damn
hospital,
it.
so he went for it.
Oh, sorry, P-Pops. I didn't know you was taking a drink.
Fine. It's
That's dangerous.
fine.
Oh, all right. So we read through chapter 9 all the way up to the next part and chapter 2. So we did get started on part 3 of this long ass book. There's also a little bit of a interlude, so we'll hit up that one as well. And I think also, like, if you've noticed, there's a lot of mention of the cycles of the moon. We've seen Peddler's Moon. We've seen, was it Huntress Moon? Then they mentioned Demon Moon.
Yeah,
Bang
Demon
the
Moon.
Oh,
The Reaping Moon, Demon Moon, Kissing Moon. Yeah, all the good shit.
So we're seeing like a lot of mentions of that. We are kind of
Sorry.
counting down towards Reap. That kind of is a date for us to keep in mind, because that's when Susan is supposed to present herself as the Reap. I think they just call her Reap Girl. Pretty much like
Yeah.
pretty much
And
like
she
the,
wishes that Will was the Reap boy.
Sure. But what happens before that is she is sent a messenger who brings her one of her own horses back. She's very excited about that. Part of the deal is to I think it's 4 different horses over a certain period of time. I believe she's already gotten one. Yeah, she's gotten Pylon already, and now she has the next one. Her name is Felicia. She didn't like the way her hooves were looking, so she took her shoes off and is getting some more shoes for her. She notices that Brian Hookie, the guy who runs the stable in Smithy, has a very nice looking, very nice looking place. All of the work that he's been doing has been paying off really well. He has a nice, I guess I'm trying to find the phrase that she used, but
His roof was looking better. It looked like they had like new paint and stuff like that.
times have been
Like, it
good
was just
for
looking-
Hookie, is what he says. So she definitely notices.
I wonder if he had one of those like red tile roofs. You know, that's how you know when you made it in
Yeah.
the neighborhood.
Yeah, you got like the Spanish like terracotta.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's the one.
The fancy shit.
So, as she's coming home from the re-shoeing, she has the bag of horse feet pretty much in her possession. She gets a message from her friend Will Dearborn, who asked her to meet at Sitco that night. Of course, the note ends with a P.S. Please burn this note when you're done. Blah blah blah. He very much said please to her. The note reads, Susan, can you meet me at Sitco this evening or tomorrow evening? Very important. Has to do with what we discussed before. Please, W. P.S. Best you burn this note. So there's obviously some sort of like meeting going on. Trying to find where... Yes,
It's
here it
best
is.
we don't. Oh, you got it.
Go for it.
It's best we don't meet. I'm sorry. Page 380.
Yep. She definitely is not interested. However, she says, where's it here? All right, she said, in her current state, she discovered that any decision, even one that would cost her another chance to see Will, was a relief. I'll honor my promise. Ka can take care of itself. So she decides not going to hang out with him. It's too risky, and
Tempting fate too much.
yeah. Let's see, that Sunday, they call it Sanday, but I'm assuming it's the same thing. Roland's little quartet took the day off, as was custom for most of the cowboys in the area. I also like how they mentioned how everyone's wearing serapes. It kind of gives you an idea of like what's the common kind of like people would wear in that time in that area.
I had no clue what the fuck a serape was. I had to look it up.
Like a
Yeah.
poncho, almost.
It's like a
the
bandana
Afghan.
with a hole in
I
the
would
middle.
have known.
You can fly
Yep.
with it. You can fly with it. Helps you fly. Ba-da-ba-da-ba-da.
That was a nice crunch.
Sorry.
No, it was good.
It's like
I
one of those
wasn't being
commercial chip
sarcastic.
crunches.
Not too much, not too little.
Yo, thank you for the fart, Steve. Susan uses Mr. Arthur Heath to pass the note back. She definitely says, nah, dog. Roland hopes that she'll change her mind. And they discuss kind of what their plans are here. And it's Roland pretty much saying like, let's wait. Calm down, slow down, keep doing what we're doing. Let's just wait and see. Let's just wait and see. And that's kind of his plan this whole time. Just wait and see.
But one of the other guys mentioned that there's like only so long before it gets suspicious if
Right.
they don't know
Right.
already.
That's why
Like,
they kind of bring it
well,
up.
you
Like,
wanna-
hey,
no.
they're gonna know that we're not counting every fucking net, or that we have
On
counted
purpose.
every fucking net 3 times. They know that they're there to count everything, and eventually they're gonna have to come count the horses, and that's kind of where I feel like Roland is drawing the line in his mind. Things that happened before, and then we're gonna be forced into like, now it's time to count the horses, and like, how is that gonna work? It's kind of the part of that castles that they talk about, which in my mind is like a chess kind of kind of like how, what do they call it, Chancellor's Patience was solitaire. I think castles is a lot like chess. It's a game of strategy. So they talk about playing castles a lot, and about how like you don't want to like be the first one to move your castle out of cover to like show your hand, kind of. So they're kind of waiting back and forth, and Roland knows that one of the big coffin hunters is gone.
They even mentioned, or one of them even mentioned about it, even been rolling, how they're probably just having them even check, you know, their back trail. They probably know more than they already want them to know. So
Yep, they know that their time is getting
Well,
closer.
the next
They're gonna
day,
have to face.
they're hanging out in the Traveler's Rest, and who walks up but good old Shimi himself. He has a message and a handful of seeds. He pretty much has been their go-between, because even though he's kind of a simple person, he still is kind of like there, in a way. And he tells Roland, "These are the seeds you scattered on the drop." So the message is like pretty clear, if you ask me. Roland is
The
ready.
Seeds of
see,
love.
for me, oh, sorry, go ahead.
I just said seeds of love.
Sowing the seeds of
For
love.
me, when he mentioned that, like the seed, like he planted the seed of her being suspicious of her father, being
Yes.
murdered, or like how he died.
Definitely.
And that's what I assumed that they meant by the seed of, you know, the seed that you've sown. I would hear you out it now, basically, as to what
I would have to agree.
understood.
Yeah, it's definitely an allusion to like what you've planted.
Like,
Um,
there was
that
a-
seed too.
So the message actually says, "There is an orange grove a mile off the road on the town side of Sitco. Meet me there at moonrise. Come alone. S." Printed below that were emphatic little letters saying, "Burn this." Elaine and Cuthbert decide they'll keep a watch, but from a distance, to give them some privacy, because they're going to need some privacy. When they get there, of course, they can't keep their lips and hands off each other, as is the way of what I would consider like first love, right? Like it's a very physical thing, almost like they can't help it, like they have no control over it. Boop-a-doop-a-doo. It's at this point when we take a quick dip over to Rhea, who has been staring at her pink ball for what I'm assuming is this whole time. she's just
They mentioned how
she's
it's
just
like
like
taking her
wasted
energy and
away,
Mm-hmm.
and has just been
Literally
living inside of this
aging
ball.
her. Sucking the life out of her.
Yes. And what did it say? But the glass was finally sapping it, sucking it out of her as a vampire sucks blood. Sorry, she had extraordinary vitality, and it carried her for many years, but the glass was finally sapping it. So she's already lived beyond what a normal, natural stretch would be for an old witch woman, and now she's, like, using a lot of that kind of energy to, like, dig into this ball and, like, look into this ball, and it's definitely, like, taking her life force. But you also get the idea that she's been watching. She's been watching lots of stuff. At this moment, though, she was watching Susan and Will Dearborn as they met outside of Sitco.
Watching them get fresh.
Yeah, there's a lot of back and forth here. We can see that their desire for each other is blooming. He tells her that his friends are watching, but he wants to show her something. And she's been to Sitco before, so she takes him through there, kind of like leads him. Let's see. There's a point here where he says, she goes. They're talking about castles. In the game, the first one around his hillock is vulnerable. In life, too, always, but sometimes even staying in cover is difficult. My friends and I have counted nearly everything we dare count. To count the rest, the horses on the drop, for instance, to count them would be to break cover, or even the oxen we know about. And Susan says, "There's no oxen here." and Roland's like, he says that he's seen them at the Rocking H, which is Laszlo Reimer's place. Kimba's brother, who is one of the main people that's been kind of taking them through, and also one of the people who are kind of in on it. We've heard them talking to the coffin hunters. We've heard the mayor talk about how, don't keep me involved in this, but he's one of those people who have been like part of it. So there's oxen there. There's definitely something going on besides the blossoming love that we see between Roland and Will Dearborn. He gets some information from her. He's really kind of trying to figure out like what she thinks and like how how she's able to put all these things into context for him. They are sneaking in to the Sitco area. They are going through the fences. And Sitco is one of those things that's like survived from like our world and somehow has made its way to their world. Like Sitco is gas. Like we all know a Sitco station, maybe not up in Canada. Steve, have you seen Sitcos up there?
No, there's no Sitcos up here. We keep them all south of the border.
What's you guys' like gas station?
Oh, sorry. I thought you said sicko. I was no. Terrible joke.
You're obviously still in Canada, so it's not a true story.
Sickles are
You're right.
used in the field.
Sitgo. Should I spell it?
Your enunciation is getting stuck in your accent, so I'm sorry.
My accent?
Yes. Your accent.
Oh, sorry.
That's how a lot of people say it.
Sorry.
Sorry there,
No,
Steve. Sorry, bud.
I think
7-Eleven.
American TV and movies that Sitco was immediately a fuel establishment.
Okay, yes, absolutely.
Especially in Maximum Overdrive.
Also that. It's
I never thought.
also not the only time that Stephen King has put it in his work as well, so I'm sure as we explore further we'll have a chance to hear about
He's
lots
seen
of cool
many
gas
in his
stations.
day.
Probably. They have this really like long, deep talk as they're kind of making their way through this area. She tells him that like the pipe here, this huge steel pipe has been dry for years. He obviously like shows her to the contrary, and she's shocked. Like he's kind of opening her mind here to like all these different concepts, all these different things that are happening. They notice that a lot of the pines in the area have been stripped of branches along the bottom. Come to find out, there are oxen hoof prints right there in the dirt. And it is very obvious what's been happening. Roland is just kind of putting these things together, and he's like using Susan, I believe, as kind of a sounding board. Is this normal? Have you noticed this? Would anybody else notice this? Is this something that like would have stayed hidden had we not had the idea to come and like check these things out? He decides to tell her his real name. He decides to put all of his trust in her, which is a huge step, I think, for anyone at this point. He has told her his real name is Roland, and then something happens that I'm sure we've all been waiting for. Let's call it the modus operandi of it is a consummation of sorts.
It's a different type of seed sowing instead of a mental one.
These are the real
Horizontal
seeds.
tango.
Yeah.
Too direct.
Realized
Too direct.
The whole book just went downhill at that moment.
Well,
Some freaky teenagers, man.
Yeah, well,
so as they're
doing it again.
as they're definitely exploring all of the different ways that people fit together, Susan feels someone watching, and she says, "Get out, ye old bitch! If you be spying on us some way, I know not how. Get thee gone." She has a feeling that like Rhea's watching, and of course she is, because there was that part at the end of her visit where she whispered something in her ear. And what she whispered was for Susan, after she's been with the mayor, to cut all of her hair off. And it's kind of like she put a spell on her. She's like bewitched her into this idea after she loses her virginity, pretty much like scalp herself.
Yep.
She's actually pretty excited about it. Like Rhea doesn't mind that she's not with the mayor, because this would be even better, because how's she going to explain that?
exactly.
Beeba-da-ba-da. Roland is not too sure that she actually feels something. So he gives her something that she would really feel. And then they fall asleep. They definitely
Like each other.
yeah, there's some sort of attraction there. Let's see. Written on the back of these tankers that everyone's been kind of focusing on here, the words Sonico, Sitco, Exxon, Conoco. Some phrases like cleaner fuel for a better tomorrow, which they're in the tomorrow, and it definitely is not better. But Roland pretty much tells her like exactly what's going on. He gives her almost all of his cards. He knows that the people who were hiding these tankers was the big coffin hunters, Jonas, Reynolds, and DePape. And they're doing it for Farson, who's known as the Good Man. It says the affiliation knows he's found a number of war machines. They come either from the old people or from some other where, yet the affiliation fears them not because they don't work. They're silent. Some feel Farson has gone mad to put his trust in such broken things, but... And then she finishes, but maybe they're not broken. Maybe they only need this stuff. Maybe Farson knows that. So they're kind of putting it together where there's like... There's a war coming, and everyone kind of knows it, and everyone's been kind of expecting it, but they don't understand like how Hambry and like Magus tie into the whole deal. That's when they have more sex. Really important here. She falls
That's
asleep.
what you need for clear thought.
Yes.
It does
She
help you focus the senses. 'Cause the rest of it's fucking lulled. Exhausted. Exhausting all resources. There you go. That's
Yeah.
better.
Solve this problem in front of them.
Burning off some energy.
All you can think is as you're reading these scenes, you're just going, "Oh boy, this is not good.
yes.
This is not good.
Yes.
How are they
Shit's
going to
about
pay
that
for this?"
pain.
It's the
And then you
implications.
realize and you realize their age, and then you keep going back to your age, and like you said, he told her his name and who they were, and it was major risk. But then you remember, oh, he's only 15. And then
That's the part that's weird for me.
Well, I think I may actually have jumped the gun here. I don't think they actually have sex at this part.
No, they don't.
I
Not
think
there
they
at
are-
not there at Kiko.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sitco.
They are
I
just
was gonna
talking.
think it was not on the oil tankers. No, you kind
No.
of mixed two parts. Together.
I apologize
But
for
it's
that.
alright.
I'm just
jumped
so
in.
ready for it. It's they need to just have like
Rip it off like a
a
Band-Aid.
lot. Yeah.
All right.
Um,
So to be fair,
fair.
Sitco is a very good possibility. It was a good window where that could have happened.
Well,
But It was yet again another like teen drama. Like, no, I mustn't. I must keep my promise. Stay away from me. And then it
Well,
comes
also
back.
The hell with my
something that I
promise.
think is important to understand too is like, in the grand scheme of things,
Turmoil.
Roland could wait until she has a baby and fulfills this promise that she has, and then they could be together. But he says multiple times that he will not share her. Right? And I feel like that's part of his childishness coming out. That's part of his age, like, showing.
Even the boys were sick of it though too, 'cause they were pissed off with
Yeah.
Susan. They even
bros.
They even mentioned
You're exactly right. The bros are not happy with this at all. That, like, Roland has been distracted. He has not helped anybody. He has not, like, really been present for, like, a lot of their time here. He's been off on his own, writing alone, brooding. What happens next?
It's weird that he has that that demand about it, even though
It is a
he's
very
slept with a whore.
a very hard stipulation here.
Sex worker. Sorry,
Oh, that was out of spite. He was just pissed off.
he was celebrating getting the guns.
Well, he was a man that day and wanted to prove it. But the next chapter, bird and bear and hare and fish. We've heard this before. You guys may remember, maybe you don't remember, but it's part of the rhyme for the Guardians of the Beam.
And they also had the figures of them on that one porch when they mentioned it back. Like, Roland was originally hiding behind one back when that whole thing in the
Yes,
saloon
part of
went
their
down.
town square has the totems.
And that was-
Exactly.
And I almost have to wonder if one of those guardians protected Roland from being seen that night.
It's possible.
That's just a question.
It's very possible. This one starts, however, with a different kind of... the peddler's moon is gone, and the rise of the huntress moon is up. Caw finally came and blew her away, house and barn and all. It all began with someone at the door. So she gets a visit from one of the maids from Mayor's house who says, "Oh, the dress is ruined. You gotta come back for a fitting." Tricks her into coming in. She shows up for the fitting. The seamstress is there, and she gets everything ready, and then she goes, "I'll be back," and leaves. And what happens here? Mayor shows
Old
up,
Man Energizer Bunny.
and he dry humps her from behind.
All crinkly and crusty, rusty.
I imagine it was like the little Energizer
Was that
Bunny
a
just
plan?
kind of like hopping.
Yes. I believe
Okay.
that was
I missed
100%
that
a
one.
plan, because when she
That's
gets
how
there,
the
like, she's
dog
led
got
to
into
believe
the
that the dress is
seamstress's
destroyed.
closet.
And when she gets there, like, the hem is messed up a little bit.
She smelled dog farts.
Yes,
Started busting up laughing.
and the maid tells her that it was dog farts. That it was probably a dog got in there and ate it.
Sure.
I mean, all he had to do is put a little something on the dress. The dog would have tore that shit up.
Well,
Dirty old man. Or is he young because he was looking in the glass? Sorry.
no, that's...
Either way, it was an unpleasant encounter for poor Susan.
So at this point, before any of this actually happens, Susan, in the story, she's home and she's pissed, and she goes to tell her Aunt Cordelia about, like, what happened, and she pretty much tells her about the dry humping. What did he say? "I must have something a bonbon. Aye, so I must. Balls to the witch, I say. Owl shit to her." Then he said something that I thought was really gross. "Oh, I get out, you damned poison."
The way that this was read in the audiobook was brilliant.
Oh yeah.
Get out of me, you damn poison!
They do mention about how he gets kind of like spacey afterwards, almost as if like
Yes.
made me think of like dementia or something.
He definitely
'Cause
feels a
I've
little bit
seen it.
ashamed. But
It's
then
like
Susan kind
it's
of realizes,
consumed
like,
him.
this kind of shit can happen at any point in time now. Like, no one here is going to protect me. They all see me as this thing, and, like, they all have this idea of, like what's going on. And, like, for the most part, like, at face value, it's true. You know, she's
He's an object.
The
technically
mayor's property.
a concubine. Yeah, she's selling her womb, kind of. Here's his. She'll say nothing, Susan thought. None of them will, just as none of them will lift a finger to help me off the stick I've run myself on. You sharpened it yourself, Jilly, they'd say if I called for help, and that'll be their excuse for leaving me to wriggle. So she kind of knows, like, you know,
He's fucked.
she's not in a good position, and she's not going to get help from anybody that she actually, like, could get help from, especially with these types of situations. But Cordelia, of course, takes it as, like, oh, you Miss Oh So Young and Pretty. He had a squeeze at your titties. Oh, ha ha. You know, like, what's the big deal? And then they have a huge fight. Because she kind of turns it around her. And
It was almost like the
she makes a
classic.
jab about the fact her aunt's a virgin.
It was like
Well,
the
supposedly.
classic.
and a spinster.
Spinster. There you go.
It was the classic. Oh, it wasn't that bad. Like,
Yeah, oh.
like this shit happens all the time.
it's
You're just
gaslighting,
young and
right?
Dumb.
Mm-hmm.
It is, and that's happened too many times. That's how a lot of. Never mind.
Yeah,
Go on.
well,
Sorry.
Anyways.
definitely a whole, like,
Pop-on.
the whole cultural thing there. But, like, in the context here, she's pretty much like, they've already paid you.
Mm-hmm.
And there's, like, if you
This is
think
part of it.
if you think that is so horrible and disgusting, wait to see what actually happens. Like, wait till it's time for, like, you to pay your debt, because you've already been paid, and it's on you now to, like, pay your debt.
And never know when this seed will take. So it'll be however many times until it does.
Well, of course, she brings her father into it.
Fucking always.
Says something here like, the dishonor of a broken promise, the shame of a faithless child, he would want thee to go on with it, Susan. If thee would remember his face, thee must go on with it. So she pretty much says, like, you have to honor your promise.
She's tugging at her conscience because she knows that she was a daddy's girl, and her dad told her about honor and, like, following through your stuff, and she's just pulling on that one little fuck that she thinks that Susan still gives.
Well, after this fight, she jumps on her horse, of course, and does what she usually does and just rides, so she can kind of turn her brain off and just be somewhere else. She ends up at a brook. And of course, guess who shows up but Mr. Swingin' Dick Rollin' himself. He says, I saw you riding across the drop. I was at a place where I go to think sometimes, and I saw you. I wouldn't have followed except I saw that you were riding bareback. I thought something might be wrong. This is when they give into the carnal temptation. And what does she say to him?
She says, "Oh, Will, dear booty, take me right here."
I need to go, like, lay down. I'm not feeling too hot, so y'all have a good night.
Thanks, Tam Tam. Sorry you feel bad.
See ya.
Feel better.
It's okay.
Hope to see you next week.
Damn.
Bye.
Feel better.
Your pop said feel better. So what were you saying?
There it is. She says, if you love me, then
Will
love
dear
me.
Booty.
If you love me, then love me.
Oh, dear booty. Yeah.
There's a little mini chapter here, like a sub chapter here about Ka, and about how pretty much like they weren't gonna get past this. Like this had to happen, and there's no way that they were gonna be able to get past it. At this point, she also agrees, like, not to sleep with the mayor, which I think is actually like the real kind of decision, and it comes from her. But Roland definitely influenced that decision, I believe. She's not going to sleep with the mayor, but it's only after this that she makes that decision.
Hornet.
Go.
I want to pay attention to a couple things on 424. She only really asks if Roland's going to take care of her after the fact. And then she starts talking
That's
about what
true.
about the kids. But Also, she uses "Will thee take care of me?" We've heard that phrase earlier used in a fight, so it's interesting to hear it used here in its real context in
Yes.
a way
It
that's
makes me think when they talk in high speech, it's like really important. Like will they take care of me? It's almost like a definite promise. She,
yeah.
She's asking a lot of them when she says that, I think.
But also, the only people that talk thee, thou, they, whatever, the one we've really heard is Cordelia, her aunt.
He tells her, "If you carry my child, such is my good fortune. And mine," she says. "We're too young, I suppose, little more than kiddies ourselves." So, like you can tell that even though Roland's a gunslinger, and even though he's considered a man, and even though she's been able to make the decision of a woman to, like, you know, be someone's Jilly, they really haven't actually matured enough to, like, think of things before these things happen. Like, even now, you know, people are like, they don't think of these things either. But only just now is it, like, really coming to head, like, what kind of a decision they made, like how big of an act that this was for them and for this part of their lives. Whatever comes, we'll do as we must, and I'll always love you no matter what comes. At this point is when they fall asleep. Now, this is when the witch comes back into the show for us. You kind of remember that conversation she had just before she left, and only moments before he would have sunk too deep into sleep to have heard it, a warning bell went off in Roland's mind. He kind of gets that same feeling of someone's watching, and he kind of wakes up. He kind of like comes out of what's been happening, and he kind of wakes up. And Susan is no longer next to him. He has the feeling she's close to the stream, so he says Susan. He gets up, he tries to find her. Court, who kind of lives rent-free in his brain, pops out of nowhere and says, "No time, maggot!" And he, without putting any clothes on, rushes down to the stream to see what's happening. She is, like, almost gonna cut that whole, she has a whole handful of hair, and she's almost gonna just like nick it right off of there.
This whole thing, though, reminds me of how good Roland's intuition is, even, like, when he's younger. Granted, at the time, he doesn't understand, like, all of it, because he's still a little ignorant with it. But yeah, his intuition is like his spidey senses. Anyways, sorry.
Even though he definitely has that strong of an intuition, he doesn't make it in time to get her, like, she cut some of her hair off. And he watches it hit the stream and, like, go downstream. He finally gets her to stop. I think he hurts her. He gets right up to her ear and goes like super loud click, like you would do for a horse.
Yeah. And he fucked the pistol a little bit. And then she goes, "Why did you hurt me?" Because she doesn't remember what happened.
And the other thing is I don't think you mentioned is that Rhea's cat jumps on her lap at the exact moment where she's trying to really, I would say, set the spell in. So we don't even know the extent of the damage she was going to do.
Yeah, she was definitely there watching, like being like, okay, let's see this happen. All right.
That was right before they.
No, that's right here.
I thought it was
when she woke her up.
No, I thought that she was. Oh well.
There was two times. The first time.
Yeah.
Yep, the first time.
Early in the week, we're all messed up.
Because earlier, whenever they were at Sitco, actually Susan turned. Yeah, but Susan had turned and said, "Get out of my head, witch!" And then the ball went foggy. She cast her away from seeing.
It did go foggy, but it didn't like.
So then the cat, something fucked up. She wasn't able to. I don't remember.
So right here. Now, Rhea murmured, "Now, my little one, be a good girl and do as you were told." As if hearing her, Susan's eyes opened, but there was nothing in them. They woke and slept at the same time. Rhea saw her pull her hand from the boys. She sat up, bare breasts against bare thighs, looking around. She got to her feet. That was when Musty, the six-legged cat, jumped into Rhea's lap, wowing for food or affection. The old woman shrieked with surprise, and the wizard's glass at once went dark, puffed out like a can of flame in a gust of wind.
Yep.
So then she fights with the cat. I be gone, you vile cusk. And she turned back to the glass and spread her hands over it, thumb to thumb. Although she concentrated with all her might, willed her heart until her heart was beating with a sick fury in her chest, she could do no more than bring back the ball's natural pinkish glow. She was unable to see anything after that, and that's when Roland was able to wake up and like stop this from happening. Court speaks up in his head like, "Yo, you got no time.
No time for clothes.
Yeah,
Go.
Don't even put clothes on. Go take care of it."
Do the thing.
Do the thing. Susan doesn't know anything about what just happened to her, so Roland does his trick, his cool little trick with the bullet, and hypnotizes her. He tries to get her to tell him. She says, "I don't know. The rest is pink." He's pink. What do you mean? She's pink. I don't know. She says,
like
"I
the
love you
moon."
just so. It's a good girl you are. Then everything's pink and bright. Pink like
He
the moon."
recalls everything until it gets to what Ray has said,
Yep.
and then it's just pink.
So this is where he tells her, in the middle of her being hypnotized, he says he's going to tell you a rhyme and it's going to make her wake up. And the rhyme is bird and bear and hare and fish. Give my love her fondest
Give my
wish.
love her fondest wish.
And make sure that she remembered everything when she woke up.
Yes. 20 minutes later, they decide to be careful, use shimi but not too much, put notes under the rocks. They decide like that they're not done. They're gonna definitely keep this going because why not? And
If it ain't broken, don't change it.
this is when our good buddy Eldred sticks his blue tattooed coffin hand in and becomes very ingratiated with Cordelia Delgado. He's very interested. I remember earlier we discussed it, but he said he was going to talk to one of the people in town that you don't talk to the fat drunk guy because no one tells him secrets. You talk to the quiet ones, the ones who are spinsters, the ones who are secret
A woman
keepers.
just like Aunt Cord.
Well, excuse me. He's just kind of ingratiating himself here. Cordelia also notices every now and again. This one time specifically, Susan's pretty much like checked out, and they've been avoiding each other. They're like living like two people in the same house, but like not interacting at all.
Every time she's still ready to
She's being suspicious of her.
attack.
What does it say here? It was all foolishness on her part, no doubt. Suspicions brought on by her flirtation with Eldred, but the girl was at a dangerous age and much depended on her good behavior over the next 7 weeks. After that, she could be Thorin's problem. Until then, she was Cordelia's. Cordelia thought that, in the end, Susan would be true to her promise, but until reaping fair, she would bear close watching. About such matters as a girl's virginity, it was best to be vigilant. So Cordelia's suspicious, but she also kind of puts it off as like anyone would be. We're just like so close to the end here.
Yep.
We're on the home stretch.
Yeah.
What's wrong?
And this is also where we get our first interlude, which I think is very interesting.
I like Eddie's comment in the interlude. Like how do you know all of like what's going on?
How do you know
All
every
perspective.
corner of this story?
Yes. How do you
Yeah.
know
Very good question.
all perspectives?
Because usually, if you're telling a story about something that you were involved in, you can only tell it from your
It's
point of
just
view.
your side.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
So he asked him like, how do you know this? And Roland kind of avoids it by asking him another question. Like, I don't think that's what you really want to know, Eddie.
Yep.
And what Eddie ends up asking him is, Roland, you've been talking a long time, days, I would have said.
Time works different there.
Yeah, but they mentioned the thinny that it
Is
might
the
like,
thinny stretching
out.
time?
Yeah.
Roland says it might be helping, but mostly it's just how things are in my world. Pretty much what he's trying to say is like they've created a kind of magic here. Almost like a storyteller's magic where the night seems long and seems like it's been going on forever. Like the story has been happening. He's been telling this story for hours and hours and hours and hours, but no one's uncomfortable. You know, no one's foot went to sleep. No one has, you know, a crick in their neck. Like there's no like uncomfortability from sitting and having listened to
It
this
doesn't
for
feel
so
like
long.
it's been a long time, but
Right.
it's definitely been a long time.
So
We've seen this
kinda-
before in the Gunslinger too, right?
That's what I was just about to say. Back in the Golgotha.
There's a lot of magic that's been happening. There's the speaker's magic. There's like the key magic. There's a lot of things that our quartet has been willing into existence, and it all kind of circles around.
They've been
That's
sharing
what I've
dreams.
noticed. Yeah,
Sharing thoughts, talking.
Yep, talking to each other. At this point, though,
Did we need this chapter? I want to ask.
the
Because-
interlude.
The interlude, it was so short.
Mhm.
It just basically confirmed what we thought our group would be thinking about this story, and right
But-
back into it.
But
Wow.
let me ask you a question. Eddie asked something first.
Yeah.
Did he get an answer?
No.
Honestly, I had the same thought in the beginning of this. How, if this is Roland telling the story when we first started all of this, my brain went, if this is Roland telling the story, how does he know all the perspectives? So it was kind of nice to see that it wasn't just like a story being edited. This is meant to be, I think it's kind of like what it was for, was a reminder of this is Roland telling the story,
yeah.
how he's telling it. It
Well,
isn't
Scott-
just
It is face
read
value.
a book, it's the actual
Yeah.
story told as is.
Well, I think the idea here is that like it will become.
I was gonna
important.
say, you can take it two ways, right? You can take it at face value, but it's also trying to lead you into this. Hey, there's some meta here as well.
Right.
It's a narrator, but we're trying to say this is Roland, and it leads into that too, with the last sentence leading into the first sentence of outro out of the interlude. It's what Roland says, but it's slightly altered. It's kind
Right.
of interesting.
He says right here, true love is boring as any other strong and addicting drug. And, as with any other strong drug, true love, like any other strong and addicting drug, is boring. Once the tale of an encounter and discovery is told, kisses quickly grow stale, and caresses tiresome, except, of course, to those who share the kisses, who give and take the caresses, while every sound and color of the world seems to deepen and brighten around them. As with any other strong
Or-
drug, first, true love is really only interesting to those who have become its prisoners. And, as it is true of any other strong and addictive drug, true first love is dangerous. So, they kind of set us up here in this next part as chapter 1 being about, like,
Foreshadowing.
we could talk about every time that they met. We could, like, really discuss, because to them it's the most important thing that's happening. But to the story, it's not. There's more happening. There's other things going on.
And
and
then
this,
the guys.
Go
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, and
the-
this first chapter just like starts off that next bit for us.
Oh,
Yeah, because I could see like Roland used to kind of focus on his shit with Susan at the moment, and when you think it's boring, all I could think of, I used to be a third wheel. I was the one that like all the parents would let chaperone everybody else's dates. So like when everyone
You're
was
like a
out
third
doing
wheel.
their lovey-dovey bullshit. It is boring to the people around you that you just stare at it like, okay, this is fucking annoying, all this other shit. And that's like how the guys, to me, the boys, you know, his group of friends there are like, okay, what the fuck? being very third wheeled and hoping that you know, like he's still like with them somewhat. So,
I want to hit. I want
that's
to
what
hit.
it made me think of. So
I want to hit one last piece with this thing with Roland talking and then it coming into the narrator. He says that, like you said, true love is boring. As boring as any other strong and addicting drug, and as with any other strong and addicting drug. And if you come over here, basically, he says the first line of the first paragraph and the first line of the second paragraph out loud. And so to me, I'm thinking the magic, the storytelling magic. Eddie asking, how can you know every aspect? Eddie's seeing or feeling or really getting the vibe of all this context that Roland hadn't said in the interlude, but it's there, right? And it's real. And that's the magic. I don't know. I just had to.
Also, Steve, we will come back to this interlude, and we'll talk about it again.
His book is already long enough. I don't think we should be revisiting parts we've already read.
I think you're gonna want to. The next part is called Beneath the Huntress Moon, and they say here some call the Huntress the last moon of summer, some call it the first of the fall. Whichever it was, it signaled a change in the life of the barony. So things are switching over from summer to fall. As for a ranching community, a farming community, a fishing community,
It's time to hunt.
things are changing. It's time to harvest the crops. It's time to get ready for it at least. They kind of go through like what.
But
Good.
I was thinking, actually, it was towards the end of the crop. They always bitch about, like, they even mention about complaining about, like, the last crop being, like, not the hardiest and so on and so forth. So they've been harvesting up until then, and now it's actually the end of it. So now they're getting ready to, like, bunker down for the off season, the cooler seasons.
Yes.
You can tell how drastic it changed when we read a little farther along, and they talk about how some of the people are dressed according to how fast the weather's changed.
Yep.
Sorry.
Absolutely. So there's a little bit of like exposition. You're hearing about these little bitty things, these changes, what's going on inside of like this little town as we progress through the story. Those in the grip of a strong drug, heroin, devil grass, true love, often find themselves trying to maintain a precarious balance between secrecy and ecstasy as they walk the tightrope of their lives. Keeping one's balance on the tightrope is difficult under the soberest circumstances. Doing so while in the state of delirium is all but impossible, completely impossible in the long run. Roland and Susan were delirious, but at least had the thin advantage of knowing it. So we kind of get this feeling of like they're out of control, under control. They're like towing that line of too much, right?
Yep. They're letting it get out of hand almost.
Well,
Not
they
yet.
Or reckless.
No,
they use
not yet.
Shimi, yeah, to like set up some meets. They use the rocks in the courtyard. They've been trying to keep
And
it
they-
as quiet as they
but
But they
can,
they're gonna
realize
be caught
it's
there, too.
dangerous.
right?
They know if they use
They
the
don't
rock
like-
too much, it'll be too obvious.
And they don't want to use Shimi too much because if he gets, he's innocent bystander.
Yep.
So here we get a little bit of what's going on. It says Cuthbert and Elaine watched Roland's descent into addiction, first with disbelief, envy, and uneasy amusement, then with a species of silent horror. They had been sent to see what was supposed to have been safety and had discovered a place of conspiracy instead. They had come to take a census in a barony where most of the aristocracy had apparently switched its allegiance to the affiliation's bitterest enemy. They had made personal enemies of 3 hard men who had probably killed enough folks to populate a fair-sized graveyard, yet they had felt equal to the situation because they had come here under the leadership of their friend who had attained near mythic status in their mind by besting court with a hawk as his weapon and becoming a gunslinger at the unheard of age of 14. That they had been given guns themselves for this mission had meant a great deal to them. When they set out from Gilead, nothing at all by the time they had realized the scope of what was going on in Hanbury Town and the barony in which it was part. When the realization came, Roland was the weapon they counted on, and now
here he is, completely distracted, completely off kilter, almost ignoring them entirely, and they feel
Almost
like
tunnel vision.
we've been here wasting time counting things that don't need to be counted. We're in a very precarious position, and our fearless leader has pretty much abandoned us. Cuthbert, of course, is the most outspoken and upset one of the group.
Eddie gets an honest. Just saying.
Don't they mention that his rook skull is missing?
Yep.
Somewhere along the lines here. I'm curious as to where that went.
I don't think that's right here.
Oh, it's around here somewhere.
I think you maybe read further than we've read so far.
Hey,
I don't
Can I-
think so.
I got a quick question. No, that he did lose the rook skull.
Around here.
So-
It was like a quick mention. Sorry. Go ahead.
So, I was just gonna say with Cuthbert and Roland seeing so many similarities in Eddie, this could be the same, just like the Man in Black. There's different versions, except for he's at a higher level of thinking or some shit, or realization. I don't know.
Them
You know what I'm
watching him
saying?
go after Susan like that blindly made me almost think of like Eddie watching Roland only give a shit about the tower.
There's definitely
Also-
a feeling of abandonment from his compadres, and they kind of like have been working things out on their own, like because they're also smart kids, and like they've kind of been working things out on their own too, and it's like they have ideas and like they want to move forward and they want to make something happen, and they're like, but if we could only just get his fucking attention for 1 second to listen to us, like maybe we can get him focused back on like why we're actually here, because they're in a very dangerous position here.
He's got Cupid's arrow stuck in his ass.
Right
He's
in his
preoccupied.
ass.
Any other 15-year-old kid that drops his buddies for the girl at the high school.
Yes.
Which, if I'm not mistaken, Roland and Susan talked about needing to confront the drop soon.
Well, what
I
happens
think they
is
want to time it with the reaping moon.
that was definitely one of their plans about like how to get this whole thing figured out. But they're very jealous of Roland too, because not only is he getting laid, but like Susan is the prettiest girl that any of them have ever seen from any part of the world where they came from. So they're also jealous of that too. Like it's not just like grown-up feelings of I have a duty here, but it's also like childish feelings of like, why is it always him first?
I got a confession. I watched Westworld, and Susan, in my mind, looked a hell of a lot like Dolores.
Dolores is pretty good.
Sorry, because she's innocent, but coming to.
I thought a little bit of like Sansa Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know what? That seems about right.
That is on par.
Not an uncommon character to be written in
Right.
any story.
What do they call him? A Mary Sue. And while all this stuff is happening, there's also like this idea of like what's the other guys doing. We get a little bit of a look here as Jonas is having a meeting with what's his name, Reimer. DePape and Reynolds come down, and they're pretty much like, hey, boss, I really want to kill them kids that pissed us off. Can we go kill them kids? And he's pretty much tells them like, be patient. Like there's things that happen. Things that have to happen first.
Don't they talk about how those kids were sent there not because they didn't realize? I don't know if I'm in the right spot or not. But they mention how like they didn't send them there to find out like the shit that they're hoping they don't find out. They sent them there to count stuff because it was supposed to be considered safe like they were in trouble and they'd sent them there, but they mentioned how the like reason why they're their family because they're important because their fathers are higher leaders or whatever.
Yeah.
They sent them there to still be safe. I don't know if it's the right spot or not. I know it was when they were talking.
They did talk about it in here too, because they were talking about they wouldn't have sent their kids to us if they had an idea.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like they wouldn't have sent them their ahead. They even had an inkling of like.
Well, also like you got to remember that they're not telling them about it yet either.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they're
And
not reporting back with, "Hey, we found something."
That explains why they were so
apprehensive,
precise in the very beginning. Very overly courteous.
Well, that's what puts them in this situation.
Yes, sir. You know what I mean?
They are
were
apprehensive
scared
because
shitless.
not only are they dealing with all this shit, but like no one else knows about it. Just them. They're the only ones with the full knowledge of the situation, and they don't even have that. You know, and I think that's probably what Roland is waiting on.
They're
That's
in deeper shit than they intended.
yes, and Roland wants to see how deep before he makes any decisions and like how he wants to explain it to his parents and stuff. So
Yeah, because his dad, he doesn't want to waste his dad time for coming out for just a few extra horses.
Yeah.
That was how he mentioned it at one point.
well, Jonas tells both the Pape and Reynolds like. It's actually a pretty good quote here. He says, "Your ass is still a sore over that, isn't it? Well, so is mine, and I'll tell you again, they'll pay for what they did. I have the bill ready, and when the time comes, I'll present it to them, with all interest duly noted. In the meantime, they aren't going to spook me into making the first move. Time is on our side, not theirs. Do you understand that?" And what they're saying is they want to go while they know that the boys are gone doing their counting job. He wants to go and check out the bunkhouse that they're staying in, look through their stuff, and like see if they can find any evidence of what they heard about who these kids were from their back trailer.
They even mentioned guns being hidden in the floorboards.
Yes.
Exactly where they are. Or were. They might be carrying them on them now.
Well,
Since tension is rising.
you kind of also do get the idea here that like Reimer's been scheming this whole time. The mayor's a joke to him. He wants control of this place. He kind of knows what's happening on all sides as well, and he's hired Jonas and his friends to like make it work for him. Because he wants to help John Farson, and he wants to become mayor himself. That's really what's going on here. At this point, we jump back to Rhea, who is still pissed off at her kitty cat.
And she's even more ragged.
Didn't she throw it into the fireplace?
Yes, she's
Caught
very
on
she's
fire.
very upset. She's very upset. She can't get the ball to turn back on. It just gets a little bit of a pink glow and nothing like the images that she had seen before.
I think
It's-
you were holding it and going, "You damn thing!" Just smacking the fuck out of it.
The thing is in her state and like the way that she's become so attached to this
Obsessed.
ball, it's kind of like a drug for her too. You know,
Yes.
it's kind of a addiction.
Knowledge is seductive.
Right. So she then like, in order to justify it, kind of, she pretty much blames Susan.
Oh, so young and pretty.
And she says, right here, "For standing against Rhea of the Coos, the bitch deserved to die. But not right away," the old woman whispered. "First she'll be rolled in the dirt, then pissed on until the dirt's mud and all her fine blonde hair's full of it. Humiliated, hurt, spat on. She's so upset. How can I make it like it was?" Rhea asked. Tell me, but the huntress told her nothing. And at last Rhea went back inside, sucking at her bleeding knuckles. And that's where we kind of stop here. Chapter 2 is called The Girl at the Window. We're going to continue our story here next week. Girl at the Window. Let me just check and see how far are we at.
Now, call me crazy. I think we should read through Wizard and Glass. Or Wizard's Rainbow. Yeah, let's read through the rest of the book.
Just finish. 3, 2...
Going out on a big shebang? Is that what you're trying to shoot for? I think we're like just over halfway.
You want to read
At least in my book.
2 Wizards Rainbow?
I could read 2 Wizards Rainbow.
That's less than 100 pages. It's 90 pages. Chapter 2 to chapter 5. 2, 3,
Oh,
and
I
4.
thought you were saying.
Sound good?
Shit. Oh,
I'll try to remember to put those chapters in the Discord for anyone who needs them. What do we
This is some
think
good reading. I hope I don't go past again this week, man. Oh,
What do we
I did
think
that
is
this
the
week.
biggest takeaway here?
don't read on Tuesday.
Just read a little bit on Tuesday.
I just wait till Friday morning.
If
I only
that
had a
kind of
little bit to
time.
listen to because I listened through the interlude.
Yeah, well,
Then it was like 30 minutes. I was like, well,
pretty
damn, that
sure
was
the part
fast.
about the missing Rook Skull happens next set of chapters.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
I
know.
don't know. They mentioned it before because when they were going to the bunkhouse and he knocks, he says, "Where's the lookout?" And he's like, "I haven't been able to find that damn thing
Yeah.
since that whole deal with like it was back farther. I
Yeah,
think
you
before
would have to show me that because
when-
I'm pretty sure that's still coming up.
it's in between when Susan says no about meeting up with Roland and them being patient.
See, I thought it was,
was like a-
after they.
The Cuthbert
I was
Roland
pretty
chapter.
sure.
I thought it was after they had already sealed
I
their
don't have a
fates.
physical copy of the book, but I know it was in there, and it was very interesting because he mentioned that just he hasn't been able to find it. Fairly certain.
Oh, there it is.
was- You found it?
I think I did. Hush, wait, Elaine said, and looked toward the porch
Page.
rail, hoping. 521, it is. Is 521 in mine.
521.
Hold on. It is subchapter 3 of.
We're not
Of-
Beneath the Huntress.
Of the
Beneath
next
the Huntress
chapters.
We're not on
Beneath the Huntress
521.
Moon.
No, there's
Beneath the Huntress Moon.
521.
521
It was
in
whatever
my
you put in
page is,
Discord.
So I got
is-
Sidgo.
is in subchapter 3. The shit.
Okay.
Paragraph starts with hush wait.
Hush, wait.
What does it say?
Those in love. He's a traveler.
See,
Hush, wait,
cut
Elaine
the
said.
page before. Yeah. Looking toward the porch rail, hoping to jolly Cuthbert out of his bad temper. A task that was quite
There it
easy
is.
under
You are
ordinary
right.
circumstances. Elaine said, "Where's the lookout? Gone to bed early for once, has he?" This only irritated Cuthbert more. He hadn't seen the Rook's skull in days. He couldn't exactly say how many, and he took its loss as an ill omen.
Gone, but
Gone,
not to
But
bed.
not to
I
bed.
see it, yep.
Nice.
Very
Lost,
cool.
I
And
reckon.
that part had stuck out to me.
Like a certain fellow's mind and heart and good
Yep.
sense.
I also
This is
think
the
at
part
that
that we
point
talked about.
of the
Flag.
reading, I'm just pushing through.
No, I don't know why it stuck out to me, but that point seemed important that for some reason his Rook skull is missing. And I think it's very important to him for more than one reason, besides just like a trinket.
Right.
So I'm hoping it comes back up. I don't know, it was a part that just stuck with me.
What
It is-
subchapter was there?
Subchapter 3. I want to say about halfway to 4.
We read that one?
Yeah. Beneath the Huntress Moon is the chapter.
Was that after
Right
the
after.
interlude?
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah, right
that's when they're
after.
talking about cigarettes and
after.
things.
I can tell you where it's at. Hang on.
Ah,
It's on page
Yeah, I think it's around
458.
there.
Big chapter 2, third chapter down,
Hush waste.
and then it's the fourth one is when it starts. Oh, no, I guess that's the third one because that first one's huge.
Yeah, I see. Yeah.
Right before Kansas somewhere.
Wow,
I believe, right?
Yeah,
Um,
and you're right. It's cool that you guys picked up on that because
absolutely.
there's many things they're talking about because they then complain about Roland again being gone and gone like Roland's heart and mind and that. So
It just seemed like a little detail that I just noticed that like, okay, but where is it? Hi, honey.
Yeah. Where is the damn thing? But then it goes from the worry of that to it ties it right to Roland in their current situation, and they all feel fucked.
And
They
it
feel like they're
being
up shit
missing,
creek.
like
I think
he
that
says
is-
being
That's
bad
like the
omen.
cherry. That's like the cherry on top.
But that is the theme of this of that section. I feel like is that like everyone has pretty much found themselves up Shit's Creek.
Yeah,
And
it's
they're
like
getting really
everything's
fucking
coming,
irritated about it.
and shit is happening more often too.
We're definitely getting into the thick of it now. Looking
Into the
forward
thick
to
of it.
next week's reading. Like I said, we're gonna have 3 chapters to read. We did a great job this week. A little longer than usual, but that's okay.
I got a quick question.
Quick question.
Yeah, so the conversation about the true love. Yeah, we know that is like foreshadowing for what's about to happen with Roland or Will and Susan. But what is it going to happen to Eddie and Susanna as well?
It is a good time to kind of start making correlations between the different quartets, and what we're seeing here is like
Whenever you're a quartet, you're
Roland's
connected.
a gunslinger. He's the only one in the group right now, and he was that same position earlier with Eddie and Susanna. He was the only gunslinger, but there was things that they did. There's training that he gave them, that wasn't the same deal as him having to like best his teacher in order to become a gunslinger when he was a kid. He pretty much taught them to become gunslingers, and they've, he
They went
mentioned
through shit
Eddie
in their
going
own
like
lives.
like going through the shootout naked, and just the fact that Susanna was capable of like merging 2 parts of her personality, and
So would you say that it is they were gunslingers in the raw because of their own lives and the shit that had happened to them? It had made them into
I think yes, but Roland would still call them apprentices.
yes, because they don't know the way they're just lost.
I want to say there was an argument in the Wastelands that talked about how they had the innate ability, but they needed to be shaped.
Yes, it was there. Like
Yeah,
they could have been, and in the right situation, Roland's going to teach them to be. So there's like Roland being the
They
teacher
have-
here, like Roland being the first one, Roland being the guy who's there helping, his friends get there. He sees this thing in them, and he's helping them get there too. So
yeah.
definitely
It's
part
like
of the theme.
he was able to pull them because they have some sort of connection, like those of the gunslinger or those of the children of Eld, King Eld.
Arthur Eld, yep. Good
Bloodlines.
good episode this time. There's a lot that like we're becoming more aware of like kind of the meta themes here too, which is really helping, I think.
We're going outside the story.
Well, I mean, it's still in the story. It's just like
It's a possibility that's really convincing, and it just
when you
these
have a story
connections.
inside of a story, like as a flashback, you kind of
Shit,
do
there's like
understand that
10.
like
this is backstory. This is shit you need to really pay attention to. Really,
like
Yeah,
for
but
instance,
it's also
that Roland is not going to die in this story.
right? This
Because-
is what shaped.
Because
Obviously.
right, he's past it. Like that he's not with Susan anymore.
What makes
Yeah.
me sad is what happens between there and where Roland is now to all the people that like we're getting attached to in this particular.
I want to know how
Chapter.
Susan dies.
Get attached to him. Now's the time
And-
to get attached to every single one of them. You will find out as we continue reading. I'm looking forward to continuing reading the story with you guys. It's been great. Any final thoughts?
I had mine already.
I think Steve's background was fantastic.
I got a thought. I'm excited.
Poppy Pops.
I'm excited to get a new member in here. Hopefully, they're able to catch
Zombie
up on the
Dust
reading.
Bunny. Zombie Dust Bunny. Yeah.
Yep.
I need to get the reading done and post it up on YouTube. Because
You say that, but then you don't spend
feeling
hours and hours and
pressure.
hours doing the reading. So
pressure. I know.
I feel like we're on the same trajectory as we were last week. We know things are coming. And
there was kind of a
we've
set in
just-
stone here that
Yeah.
kind of happened. It's like last week was like, hey, I suspect, and now it's like, yeah,
Now
Yeah.
now it has to be this way.
So
The
now we see
pieces-
the repercussions of that.
Exactly.
Let's see what happens now.
Hell, there's even a chapter called Playing Castles. I mean, all the pieces are just being set.
All right.
It's a great time.
Well, looking forward to finishing up. Thanks again for hanging out with us, guys. We are going to be moving on next week. Please join us. It should be Friday, maybe Saturday. It's usually one or the other, depending on schedules and whatnot. So hang out, come back. All these guys are also available on the BLG Discord. We're all there hanging out, talking, chatting. Mostly Steve's shit posting, but Steve's there too. So if you wanna get the Canadian viewpoint on these things, that's a great place to go to find them.
Next one's 19, right?
Next one is episode 19. We may do a little bit of a longer episode because we're going to do a little bit of a retrospective. 19 is
Spatial.
it's kind of an important number. It is a special number, and we'll learn more and more of that as we continue. But I think missing this opportunity would be dumb. So we're gonna make 19 be a little more
19.
19. Thank you. Yes.
The theme needs to be for special.
For special.
It's the for
Blue
special
plates.
episode.
Okay. Well, I'm excited to get there with you guys. So say good night, and we'll catch you all next time.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Good night.